It was a typical, quiet afternoon in my suburban neighborhood. The sun was warm, casting golden rays over the neatly trimmed lawns and white picket fences. I had just finished my usual cup of chamomile tea, savoring the tranquility of the day. Life had settled into a predictable rhythm since my husband passed away 5 years ago. While I treasured the peace, there were moments when the silence felt heavy. The knock on my door startled me. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, there stood Daniel, my next-door neighbor, looking more anxious than usual. Daniel was a charming man in his early 40s, with kind eyes and a confident demeanor. We often exchanged pleasantries, occasionally chatting about the weather or our shared love for gardening, but this was the first time he'd come to my house unannounced. "Hi, Claire," he began, his voice soft but firm. "I hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all," I replied, gesturing for him to come in. "What brings you here?" He hesitated, glancing over his shoulder as if ensuring no one else was watching. When he finally stepped inside, his demeanor shifted. The look in his eyes changed from casual friendliness to something much deeper, a mix of vulnerability and urgency that I couldn't ignore. "I need your help," he said, running a hand through his neatly trimmed hair. "It's something personal." I guided him to the couch, curiosity bubbling inside me. "Of course, Daniel. What's on your mind?" He sat with his hands clasped tightly together, taking a deep breath. "I know we don't know each other very well," he began, his voice slightly unsteady, "but I've always admired your strength. You've built such a beautiful life, even after everything you've been through. I could use someone like you in my corner." His words caught me off guard. What kind of favor could Daniel possibly need? What could Daniel possibly need from me? He explained his predicament with a mix of apprehension and hope. His younger sister, Emily, was going through a difficult divorce. She had always looked up to Daniel, relying on him for support, but this time her situation required something more, a nurturing presence. Daniel believed that my life experience and wisdom could provide Emily with the guidance she desperately needed. "She's fragile right now," Daniel admitted, his voice tinged with concern. "I think hearing from someone who's faced hardship and come out stronger could really help her." It was an unusual request, but as Daniel spoke, I could sense how deeply he cared for his sister. There was something endearing about his vulnerability and the way he wasn't afraid to reach out for help. "I'd be honored to meet her," I said, placing a reassuring hand on his. "If you think I can make a difference, I'll do what I can." The gratitude that lit up his face was enough to convince me I'd made the right decision. Over the next few days, we arranged for Emily to visit my home. In the meantime, Daniel and I grew closer. He began stopping by more often, sharing stories about his family, his work, and his dreams. I found myself looking forward to his visits in a way I hadn't felt in years. One evening, as we sat on my porch sipping lemonade and watching the sunset, Daniel turned to me with an intensity that made my heart skip a beat. "Claire," he began, his voice low, "I never expected this favor to bring us closer. But it's been nice, hasn't it?" I nodded, unsure of what to say. There was a warmth between us, something unspoken but undeniably present. Emily's visit turned out to be a turning point, not just for her, but for me as well. She arrived at my home one afternoon, timid and unsure, but as we sat together and talked, I watched her confidence begin to bloom. We shared stories of resilience and hope, and by the time she left, I felt as though I'd gained a friend. But it was Daniel's reaction that stayed with me. When he came by to check on Emily, his gratitude was palpable. He hugged me tightly, lingering just a moment longer than necessary. "Thank you, Claire," he murmured, his voice thick with emotion. "You've done more for Emily than I ever could have imagined," Daniel said, his voice thick with emotion. "And you've done something for me, too." That evening, as we shared a quiet dinner in my dining room, Daniel opened up in a way he hadn't before. He confessed that his visits hadn't been just about Emily. They had been about the connection he felt with me. "I never thought I'd feel this way again," he admitted, his eyes searching mine. "But You reminded me that it's never too late to find happiness. I was stunned. Yet, as I looked into his eyes, I realized I felt the same. The moments we'd shared, the laughter, the quiet conversations, had awakened something in me I thought was long gone. That night, under the soft glow of my dining room chandelier, we shared our first kiss. It was tender and hesitant, but it carried the promise of something beautiful. In the weeks that followed, Daniel and I began exploring this new chapter of our lives. It wasn't always easy. Blending our histories and expectations came with its challenges, but every moment was worth it. Emily continued to thrive, and so did we. Looking back, I realized that the favor Daniel asked of me wasn't just about helping his sister. It was about helping both of us find the courage to embrace the possibility of love again. And in doing so, we discovered that sometimes the most unexpected requests can lead to the most extraordinary journeys.